Now, if when I start being vulnerable with my team and the reactions I'm experiencing are not acceptance or excitement or even neutrality, but anger or antagonism or don't, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't know how to handle this. I don't want this. How can I, as a leader, show up the way that I want to and also help that work for people who don't want that?
Good question. And I think it's a tricky one to navigate, right? Especially when you're getting emotions and feeling tied into a response that you weren't expecting. So being able to focus on the individual that is getting a little agitated or uncomfortable with the situation, you can pause the meeting and say, you know what, this is going a direction that I'm not necessarily comfortable with. We have a couple or more items to cover. If everyone wants to put a pin in this and come back to it tomorrow, next week, we can do that. Otherwise, let's reconnect on this specifically one on one after the meeting and we can sort it out, or maybe we can set a time tomorrow. A 24-hour rule is always a good thing to just allow people to diffuse, reflect, and take a moment to think about the incident. Maybe there was some miscommunication, maybe there was some misunderstanding. Very few people want to come off unprofessional in a professional environment. And especially if your team is curated in the way that it should and the culture is the way that it should, having those or having the team members that aren't able to emotionally present themselves appropriately, those are things that need to get managed outside of a group environment. The whole concept of praise in public, criticize in private, that's definitely something that would be employed in such a scenario. But diffusing is always the path that we would recommend, but definitely a tricky scenario to navigate for sure.
That brings us back to what we talked about earlier of meeting with the person one on one afterwards and being curious about what's going on for them. How can I help you be more comfortable with whatever was going on and work through that so that you can be the helpful and productive part of the team that I know you want?
Yeah, exactly. And I think a majority of the time in the moment, without being able to have a direct dialogue and unveiled dialogue with the individual, leave the ego and the assumptions at the door and just have a curious conversation and get to the why of why the reaction was what it was, or the lack of reaction was what it was, and dig into that and build that relationship